Good evening, you're watching the main news on ATV. I'm Belinda Lloyd.
And I'm Edna Tse. Here are tonight's top stories.
Hong Kong market plunges to 9-month low after US central bank signals end to stimulus and China tightens credit.
China's second woman in space beams first lesson to school students on Earth.
5 injured as David Beckham appearance causes stampede among desperate fans in Shanghai.
James Gandolfini, star of mob drama Sopranos, dies of heart attack at age 51.
Stock markets have been battered across the region after the US Federal Reserve signaled an end to the free flow of money from its multi-billion-dollar stimulus program.
Hong Kong was hit hard, with the Hang Seng Index plunging nearly 3% to its lowest in 9 months.
Adding to investors' fears, China's central bank tightened credit further, and factory activity on the mainland recorded a surprise drop. It was carnage across Asian markets today, with Hong Kong one of the big losers. The trigger was the Federal Reserve indicating it could start scaling back its $85 billion monthly spending on bonds later this year, with a view to ending the stimulus measure altogether by next year. The bond buying program was in place to keep interest rates low to boost borrowing and spending. That sent Hong Kong stocks on a tailspin as investors were spooked by the prospect of an end to free money flooding the markets. The Hang Seng Index plunged 2.88% or 604 points to close at 20,382, its lowest close since the 13th of September. Turnover stood at $75 billion. High dividend sectors such as property and real estate investment trusts were hit hard. Adding to the turmoil in Hong Kong were surprisingly weak figures on manufacturing activity on the mainland. HSBC's preliminary purchasing managers index fell to a 9-month low of 48.3 in June, down from 49.6 in May. Numbers below 50 indicate a contraction, and analysts see this as a sign that a second quarter slowdown could be sharper than expected, given that it's the second month that the PMI fell below 50. The weak PMI combined with a surge in interbank lending rates to bring down stock prices as the People's Bank of China tightened credit. Stocks in Shanghai took a hit, closing down 2.7% at 2,084, as lending rates reached historic highs on the mainland. Other bourses in Asia were not spared, as the prospect of putting the brakes on the US bond buying program triggered a massive regional sell-off. The region's heavyweight Tokyo's Nikkei closed 1.7% lower. South Korea's Kospi index fell by 2%. Taiwan Stock Exchange slipped 1.3%. Market watchers say the sharp reaction seen today shows just how dependent investors have become on the Fed's easy money policies.
More on the US Federal Reserve laying out a roadmap for ending its key stimulus program if the economy achieves sustainable growth.
Chairman Ben Bernanke said the central bank may start scaling down its bond buying scheme later this year and end it altogether in mid-2014. Markets around the world were watching as the US Federal Reserve faced the media after its 2-day policy meeting. Since December, the Fed had spent $85 billion every month on bond purchases in an effort to push down borrowing costs and encourage more investment in the American economy. But now the central bank has indicated that this unprecedented bond buying program may be scaled down later if the US economy finally achieves the sustainable growth the Fed had sought since its initial round of quantitative easing in late 2008. After its latest meeting, the central bank's Federal Open Market Committee decided to leave the monthly pace of bond purchases unchanged for now, but it also gave a slightly more optimistic outlook for the U.S. economy.
The committee sees the economy continuing to grow at a moderate pace, notwithstanding the strong headwinds created by current federal fiscal policies. The labor market has continued to improve, with gains in private payroll employment averaging about 200,000 jobs per month over the past 6 months. Job gains, along with the strengthening housing market, have in turn contributed to increases in consumer confidence and supported household spending.
With a brighter view of the economy in mind, Bernanke also hinted that the Fed may scale back on its monthly bond purchases.
The committee currently anticipates that it would be appropriate to moderate the monthly pace of purchases later this year. And if the subsequent data remain broadly aligned with our current expectations for the economy, we would continue to reduce the pace of purchases in measured steps through the first half of next year, ending purchases around mid-year.
Bernanke's comments pose a high-stakes test to see if the U.S. economy and financial markets can begin to stand on their own. The Fed chairman is expected to leave his post at the end of his term this year, but during his press conference, Bernanke did not say when he might step down. To other news, China's second woman astronaut has conducted the nation's first ever class from space, beamed down by a video link to school students on Earth.
More than 300 students in Beijing joined the lesson, while millions more across the country watched it live on state television. ATV's Bolang reports.
It was a lesson that was out of this world and a first for China. This morning, Wang Yaping, one of the 3 astronauts of the Shenzhou 10 spacecraft, gave a lecture to students on Earth. From a makeshift classroom on board the experimental space lab Tiangong-1, China's second woman in space greeted 330 primary and secondary students at a Beijing high school through a live video feed beamed down from 340 kilometers above Earth. Wang's colleagues Ni Haishang and Zhang Xiaoguang were on hand to help as teaching assistant and cameraman. The children marvelled at the basic physics experiments, including object movement in zero gravity. Crew commander Ni Haishang crossed his legs and floated across the spacecraft. The next demonstration, a small ball tied to a metal rod, doesn't swing as it usually does on Earth. Wang sent the ball in a circular motion. She then showed principles of water surface tension in space, expanding a film of water in a metal ring into a liquid ball, much to the delight of her young viewers.
Wow.
She also drank a floating ball of water for effect. Students asked questions on topics ranging from weightlessness to space debris and views through the windows of the space module. More than 60 million students and teachers in about 80,000 middle schools across China watched the live broadcast of the 51-minute space class, according to state media. Students here in Hong Kong also had the opportunity to experience the space lesson. Schools like this one in Shengshui tuned into Chinese state television to listen to Wang. Students said they enjoyed the water experiments the most. The Shenzhou 10 manned spacecraft was launched on the 11th of June and docked with the Tiangong-1 on the 13th of June. It's on a 15-day mission, the longest so far, as China prepares to build its first space station. Bolang, ATV News.
In a setback for the launch of electric taxis in Hong Kong, the Link REIT has suspended all charging stations for electric vehicles manufactured by mainland firm BYD.
That's after smoke and sparks came out of a charger while an electric taxi was hooked up to it in Ho Man Tin.
The driver of this electric-powered taxi got more than he bargained for when he tried to recharge his battery. On Tuesday, he pulled into a recharging bay at the car park of Oi Man Estate in Ho Man Tin to top up the taxi's power. But moments later, sparks flew out from the charger, followed by black smoke. There were also reports of minor explosions. No one was injured in the incident, which has sparked safety concerns about the chargers. In a startling coincidence, this was the same taxi that Financial Secretary John Tsang sat in when electric taxis were first launched last month. It was one of 45 electric cabs which hit the streets in a bid to reduce Hong Kong's high roadside pollution levels. The cars were made by mainland electric vehicle producer BYD. In a statement issued today, the company denied that there had been any explosion and blamed the incident on an overheated recharging device. BYD also said it's the first time such a case has occurred, but it's a setback to the launch of electric taxis in Hong Kong. The Link REIT, which manages car parks and public housing estates, suspended all 13 electric charging devices for BYD vehicles at 3 of its car parks. The Electrical and Mechanical Services Department has launched an investigation to determine the cause of the problem. This electric taxi driver said he has heard of similar incidents before but believes the vehicles are safe. However, the scare has convinced this driver, whose taxi currently runs on LPG gas, not to switch to an electric vehicle. Polytechnic University engineer Lo Kwok Keung believes a temperature surge may be to blame for the Ho-Man-tin incident.
It may be caused by the overheating. For example, because this is a quick charging system, we provide high current, high voltage to do it. So that it will cause the high temperature raise in a very short time. And if some components cannot resist the high temperature, will cause the insulator burning or melting, and so that will cause the short circuit themselves.
But Lo says this was an isolated incident.
At least 5 people were injured in a stampede in Shanghai as hundreds of football fans tried to catch a glimpse of superstar David Beckham.
The former England captain, now a football ambassador for China, cancelled his program at a Shanghai university shortly after the incident. ATV's Britton Clennett has more.
This is the moment when about 1,000 fans of David Beckham tried to storm the football pitch of Tongji University in Shanghai, where the former captain of England was scheduled to play with a team of students. Beckham was arriving at the venue when the crowd surged towards the gates. At least 5 people, 3 university staff, a foreign student and a police officer were injured. The scene was described as chaotic as paramedics helped those who were hurt. The former England captain cancelled the event because of the incident. The 38-year-old recently hung up his boots as a professional footballer after helping his last club, Paris Saint-Germain, win the French league. He's now football ambassador for China and is on a 7-day tour to promote the game on the mainland. The tour included a series of charity events and meetings with players, young and old. Chinese Super League officials are hoping Beckham's popularity can revive the image of the game on the mainland, which has been tarnished by a series of match-fixing scandals in recent years.
James Gandolfini, the Hollywood actor best known for playing a mafia boss in the hit TV series The Sopranos, has died at the age of 51.
The triple Emmy Award winner suffered a heart attack while on holiday in Italy with his son.
James Gandolfini was brought to this hospital in Rome after he suffered a heart attack in the bathroom of his hotel room. According to Italian